Here's where most people get it wrong. They think success is about setting big goals, waking up earlier, and working harder. But high achievers don't depend only on those common things. The biggest change isn't in what they do, it is in who they become. That's the secret most people never hear about. Once you understand this, you will realize why so many talented people get stuck, even though they are working really hard. So the hard truth is, sustainable success requires an identity shift. Because when your own identity level and success level match each other, it creates long and sustainable success. By the end of this video, you will understand the whole process of identity shifting that high achievers use to stay winning. But before knowing about the identity shifting process, you have to know why your mind is working against you every time you get ahead. Why your mind pulls you back every time you get ahead. Most people chase big goals without ever changing how they see themselves. They say, I want to be successful, but they still think, talk, and behave like someone who doesn't believe they can succeed. It's like trying to build a beautiful house on a weak foundation. Even if everything on the outside looks amazing, it won't last without a strong foundation. For a while, you can rely on willpower. You can push harder, stay motivated and grind it out. It might work at first, but not for long. Eventually you go back to what feels normal because that's how you see yourself. And also your mind prefers you to stay in a familiar situation because it feels safer. That's how many people burn themselves out and ruin their own progress. You may have noticed this before. A boxer wins fight after fight, gets close to becoming a champion, and suddenly falls apart. Not because they lost their skills, but because they didn't truly believe they belonged there. Or a new entrepreneur lands a huge client, builds a successful business, and then loses it all. The problem wasn't talent. The problem is, they still thought of themselves the same old way. The results changed, but their view of themselves stayed exactly the same. And in the long run, identity always wins, and they cannot sustain their success. I think you already understand how important identity shifting is. So in order to shift your identity, firstly you have to know what identity shift actually means. The core concept, what identity shift actually means. Your identity isn't just a thought, it's the picture you hold of yourself, and your brain works hard to protect that picture, just like it protects your body temperature or your heartbeat. That's how it keeps everything the same. Here's the part most people miss. Your actions aren't mainly controlled by willpower, they're controlled by whether they match who you believe you are. Before almost every decision, your brain quietly asks one question: does this fit the kind of person I think I am? That's the real reason it's so hard to make changes that actually last. You have probably heard the saying, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your identity. But high achievers first change who they believe they are, and their actions naturally start matching that new identity. There's a difference between working harder and becoming the kind of person who gets those results effortlessly. One takes constant effort, and that fades after a while when motivation disappears. The other feels natural and lasts. Now here's the exciting part. High achievers don't make just one identity shift. They make three important shifts. These three shifts will completely change your mindset and the process how you act, and give you sustainable success. Shift 1, from becoming to being. The first shift seems small, but it completely changes the way you think about effort. Most people believe change is always waiting somewhere in the future. They say things like, I'm trying to be more disciplined, or I'm working on becoming someone who finishes what they start. It sounds reasonable, but here's the hidden problem. Every time you say, I'm trying to become, you're reminding your brain that you're not yet your new desirable person. You don't realize it, but you're holding on the identity you are trying to change. High achievers think differently. Instead of saying, I'm trying to become disciplined, they say, I'm a disciplined person, or I am someone who keeps my promises to myself. They speak in the present tense, as if it's already part of who they are. It's not just a goal anymore, it's their identity. But simply saying those words isn't enough. If your actions don't match them, they're just empty statements. That's why you need what I want to call a proof of identity habit. Some small action that gives your brain real evidence of who you are. It doesn't have to be big. In fact, the smaller the better. Your goal should be to prove your identity to yourself. For example, if you want to become someone who journals every night to review your daily progress, don't begin with a 1 hour journaling session. It's too much, and that's why you'll likely stop after a week. Instead, start a journal for just 15 minutes every night. Make it easy enough that you'll just do it without thinking twice. Every time you do it, you are giving your brain another piece of evidence that this is who you are. After a while, you are no longer a person who journals every night. You are building a growing collection of proof that you already are that person. So becoming to being is the key. That's the first shift. But this isn't enough by itself, and that leads us to the second shift. Shift 2, from outcome identity to process identity. Here's the mindset shift that explains why some high achievers stay consistent even when things aren't going their way, while others fall apart after just one bad month. If your identity depends on results, I am successful because I got promoted in my job, or I am good at my business because my last quarter's revenue was high, then your confidence is standing on shaky ground. It's like building a skyscraper on unstable soil. The moment the results drop, your confidence drops too. That's why one failed project, one slow sales month, or losing a client can make someone feel completely defeated. It isn't just about what happened. Their whole sense of who they are was tied to that result. A process-based identity works differently. Instead of saying, I'm successful because I win regularly, you should say, I'm someone who shows up every day. I'm someone who is able to solve problems. I'm someone who keeps taking action no matter what the situation is. See the difference. None of these depend on winning. Even if things don't go your way, you're still the same person. One bad month, one bad quarter, or one bad year doesn't change your identity because it was never built on results. This is one reason some athletes and business founders struggle after their first big success, while others who shape their identity based on process, not results, keep growing year after year. Because they mainly focus on building a strong self-belief, their work, habits, and the overall process, so the success simply follows. But here's the surprising part. Even an identity that once helped you grow can eventually keep you stuck, and that leads us to the third shift. Shift 3, identity flexibility. But the identity that helped you get this far won't help you reach the next level. It worked before. Now it feels like it's part of who you are. You hold on to it. Now you start to protect it. For example, someone who was hardworking and did everything alone to get his promotion. The mindset that helped him get his promotion is not the same mindset needed to lead a team, trust other people, or see the bigger picture. The identity that once helped you succeed can later hold you back, not because it's wrong, but because it no longer fits where you are in life. But on the contrary, higher achievers for years ask themselves a different question. Who do I need to become for this next level of my life? They focus on becoming the person that their next level requires. They see identity as something that grows and improves based on its level, not something that has to stay the same forever. These are the habits of people who keep succeeding long after everyone else stops growing. So something interesting you will notice if you look at people who completely change their lives, whether it's in a job, business, sports, or any other field. Before their results changed, they first changed how they saw themselves. They saw themselves as capable before the results proved it. They strongly believed it first, then backed it up with small actions every day. Over time, the results caught up, and that order is more important than most people realize. Most people think, I'll believe I'm confident, successful, or disciplined once I see the results. High achievers do the opposite. The key lesson is this: don't just chase the goal. Become the person who naturally lives that way. Motivation fades after a few days. But when your actions match the person you believe you are, you don't have to keep searching for motivation. And don't forget to watch another very helpful video on the screen. It will help you to solve your discipline problem through identity shifting.